He has a mandate to change. But if I said to you, Piers, the economic policy is to drive the wrong way on the interstate, but don't worry, other cars will get out the way. But don't worry, common sense tells you don't do it, and history and precedent tells you don't do it, but you go ahead and do it.
Hang on. Well, hang on. If you're in a massive tank, it probably works.
If you're in a massive tank,
it's a bit like
it probably
when
works.
I would equate it. Well, I would equate it if an elephant walks along the road the wrong way in the African bush.
Yeah.
Every other animal gets out the way.
Where does the 500-pound gorilla sit? Wherever it wants.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Got another Piers Morgan debate coming in, and this one, it's like a week or so old because for some reason Piers Morgan hasn't made any new debate videos as of late. I don't know, in the past week or so. It's been a little while since he's made a new one, but regardless of that, we're going back into the archives a little bit on this one. So some of the information's a little bit out of date, but it's not all that far out of date. Like I said, it's about a week and a half. But before we get into the debate, I need you guys to do me a favor. Smash that like button for me if you don't mind. I would greatly appreciate that because it helps out with the algorithm tremendously. Also, if you new around here, subscribe to this channel. We also, as a matter of fact, for the vast majority of the videos, we cover corporate press news articles. We read the news so we can get all the information that we need to fuel our daily lives, if you will. But we read the news and go over the manipulations because every single news article is manipulative in some sort of way or another, and we need to be armed with that information to know how we're being manipulated to combat the manipulation, if you will, so we're not launched down this path of destruction, if you will, to be fooled by the corporate press narrative, because they absolutely are pushing an agenda, and what that agenda is, Democrats are good and Republicans are always evil. It's always the story. You can read through the news and figure this out quite easily, as a matter of fact, but we go over all that. So y'all subscribe, share this video anywhere and everywhere you can, but enough of my fluffing around. Let's get into it, y'all.
But Clay, very quickly, a difficult question for you. If this was Joe Biden who'd done this and tanked global markets out of nowhere, not because of a reaction to a crisis, but entirely through a deliberate decision to slap unprecedented tariffs on the entire planet, would you be so enthusiastic, or would you be calling it one of the biggest disasters in modern presidential history?
It's a good question, Piers, and I think let's go to look at what Joe Biden did. Really, this is mostly about China, right? Because China has flouted American global commerce and global commerce in general by deciding that they're going to be making products in different countries, whether it's Vietnam, whether it's Cambodia, to avoid having to deal with the larger issues of fair trade, right? They're moving all their shipments into Mexico, for instance, to take advantage of the fact that there aren't substantial tariffs inside of the North American continent. What did Joe Biden do with China? He left in place the Trump tariffs that everybody told us were unprecedented on China. It's one of the few things that he didn't change at all. So no, I wouldn't trust Joe Biden to have any idea what he's doing because everything Biden touched got worse during his 4 years. I do think, given his history in the marketplace in America and in understanding China taking advantage of us, and given the fact that he just won a popular vote, you have to trust Trump on this. I trust Trump in a way, frankly, that I would not trust Biden. To your point, I think in your opening, the stock market itself is a measuring device that is not always accurate in the short term. And, you know, my advice to everybody out there, I don't know about you, Piers, I buy S&P 500 index funds. And I put them away, and every 10 years they're going to double on average because I believe in American exceptionalism and also that we're going to continue to lead the globe. And I think that's what Trump is trying to ensure. But no doubt at all, I wouldn't trust Joe Biden on anything because everything Joe Biden touched, whether it was a withdrawal from Afghanistan, whether it was the southern border, whether it was violent crime in America, whether it was inflation. Remember, he took it up to 9%. I'll point out that all the people panicking over the stock market now didn't panic in any degree when the stock market didn't move in any way and actually was down for the first 2 years of Joe Biden's presidency. I trust Trump on the economy, and I think he's going to get this worked out.
Okay, so I'm going to criticize that take just a little bit, just to show a double standard, if you will, because technically, you know, on its face value, that answer should be yes. If Donald Trump is doing something and somebody else does the exact same thing, why does it matter who it is? Now, he gives probably the best answer you could, but I'm not satisfied with that answer, if you will, because, you know, all right, so let's give the benefit of the doubt here. Okay, let's say it's a Joe Biden from 10 years before 2020, so 15 years ago, right? Somebody who's mentally competent, even 5 years before that, like say from 2015, right at the end of Obama's presidency. We'll take a Joe Biden who seems cognitively aware, kind of like Trump, right? So let's take that. If that's the Joe Biden making the moves, the only correct answer is yes, you would have to. Right? Regardless, right now, once again, Joe Biden did not go to business school, but once again, the schooling doesn't matter, if you will, because if they're taking the exact same steps, right, it's not necessarily Donald Trump that's doing the one that's making all the deals with all these places. If it was Joe Biden taking the exact same moves and he was mentally aware of what he was doing, the answer has to be yes. We can't be, entrenched in our own BS to see a situation like this, right? Like, let's just trust Donald Trump. I don't like that. I really don't like that at all. Right now, honestly, just how it was, if Joe Biden would have done something like this, the answer is obviously no, we don't trust Joe Biden to do this. And you know what? I'm kind of right there because, Joe Biden was mentally failing. So it's kind of an unfair question. And this is why I'm covering this segment, because I think this needs to be delved into a little bit to, unearth some of our biases here. Like I said, if it's a competent and aware president, no matter who's doing it, if they're doing it for the right reasons, we should trust it. But that's the problem with politics these days. And I think this is why Democrats are going so hard against Donald Trump, because it's not their guy doing it. And we really need to get away from that mentality a lot in this country. We have gotten so entrenched in our own BS that we can't see the forest, because there's a line of trees right there in the way, and then right behind that line of trees, there's another line of trees, and we're just missing the entire plot here. Right. So what Donald Trump is doing, and I think all Republicans either have or need to make sure that people know we don't know exactly what's going to come of all these tariffs. But my thing, right, and I've gotten criticized heavily in the comment section for defending the tariffs, which it looks like I defend the tariffs constantly. But what I'm really doing, and I make sure and try to say this all the time, but people don't ever get it, is, look, the corporate press narrative is, it's a tax on you. Donald Trump is taxing you, and that's it. But that's not the whole truth here. Right? There's all kind of different aspects to what the tariffs are doing, right? Because, it's not necessarily a tax on you. And this is what I don't get. This is where the disconnect between the left and what Donald Trump is doing doesn't make any sense. It's where the disconnect is okay, so Donald Trump, they're all right, the left, they're constantly screaming tax the corporations, blah, 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 tax the wealthy and all this other stuff. So that's what Donald Trump is doing. That's exactly what he's doing, right? Because the argument is, let's tax these people so we can try to resolve the income inequality in this country. Well, when you tax the corporations in this country, what are they going to do with that? They're either going to put that money into their company, right, to expand their company, or they're going to try to raise prices to cover some of that tax. That's the same thing as what these tariffs are doing. Except what Donald Trump is doing is he's not taxing our own corporations. As a matter of fact, he's giving them tax breaks. But he's taxing the corporations from the rest of the world. And it's up to them if they want to impose that tariff onto you. They don't have to. They absolutely do not have to carry that tax over onto you. They don't. They could absorb a lot of that. And once again, to prove that point, I've come out with several articles, and people just don't get it. They're either too dumb to get it, or they don't see it. I come out with a video not that long ago talking about Ferrari. They announced a 10% increase in the price of Ferraris. Now, this is a one-off, and it's a high-end product, right, that not a lot of people are going to buy. But nevertheless, this takes place on smaller scales with much more popular items, if you will. Right, Ferrari comes out raising their prices by 10%. Well, hang on, the auto tariffs that Trump imposed were 25%. Right, that video was just to prove the point that they are going to absorb some of these tariffs. So you can't say it's simply a tax on you. But once again, getting back to the point, I think we need to be fair that everybody is scared about what's going on. We're not 100% sure if this is all going to work. Donald Trump is obviously going to back off of these tariffs once he gets these trade deals going. And I think it's going to take everything that Donald Trump is doing for all of this to work. All of it has to work, right? The trade negotiations that he's doing with the rest of the world, for crying out loud, have to work to get China to capitulate. We have to be able to put China in a box to make this work. It all hinges upon this. It all hinges upon China capitulating, essentially. And if they do, it's going to be great. But if they don't, I'm not sure what's going to happen, y'all. But I don't like this doom and gloom nonsense that everybody's coming out with. Oh, it's the apocalypse and blah, blah, blah. But we'll get into that. Let's keep going.
That's why this tariff program is so vast, to avoid any loopholes or cutouts for other countries. I know it's nice to maybe pat on the backs of the Wall Street elites who are apoplectic over what's going on in the stock market right now. But the lived experience for America's working class, the status quo, is demonstrably worse and more radical than what you're seeing happen in the stock market right now.
Stop.
Piers, you're sending Richard into some kind of anaphylactic shock. So, Richard, respond.
It's simple. I'm tired of this nonsense, arrant nonsense about the top elite and the stock market. The reality is, ma'am, the number of people with 401ks, the number of people with IRAs or Roth investment funds over decades that they've put together. My neighbor, who has worked all her life to put together a small amount of savings that she can live on for the rest of her. She's 93 and just seen her savings go down by 15 to 20%. She's not the elite. Now you just tell me, how do you justify this vandalism when it was unnecessary to reach the same goal?
Natalie, respond to that.
Because her 401k would have been a lot higher if for the last few decades American politicians had actually prioritized her wages and not overseen NAFTA or China's ascension to the World Trade Organization. You're giving this sort of limited hangout worldview where you think what her 401k represents the entirety of what her financial well-being could have been. Tell you what, if politicians didn't just talk strong about tariffs like, what was it, Nancy Pelosi, Joe Biden, essentially all of the Democratic Party has been for a while, if you watch the old clips, they'll agree with me and not you. They just never had the guts to actually do it.
Okay, so I know that was a short clip, and I'm going to be a little bit brief on here. I'm tired. I like this. It's just funny. They're feigning the outrage. My neighbor's 401k is collapsed. Are you really that insecure about the stock market? Like, don't we realize the stock market will shoot right back up once all this trade war nonsense is over with? If these people are relying upon their 401k, for goodness sakes, because it goes down for a little bit, you're not pulling money out of that currently. I mean, unless you are planning on selling it and then the stock market goes down a little bit. Wait just a second. Sorry, but I think that's a very, very slim amount of people that had just planned on pulling everything out of their 401k. In that month-long period that the stock market is going to be down or whatever, right? Like, it shoots back up, it goes back and forth. So just hang tight just a little bit. That's why I say they're feigning the outrage, because these people know damn good and well the stock market will rebound. The stock market traditionally just goes up and up and up and up and up, right? Just give it a little bit of time. It'll bounce right back once all this trade war nonsense is over with. These people are just ridiculous. The hypocrisy is on another level with this. Because once again, like I said, it'll bounce back. Just give it a little bit more time. You can't pretend to be mad about this when these people know the stock market sure to go down briefly, but it'll come right back up, like I said. And unless you were planning on pulling your money out right after Donald Trump done that, done his trade, kicked off his trade war, if you will. Look, just wait. Sorry. I'm sorry. What else are you going to do about it? Actions need to be taken. Donald Trump took action. There you go. Just wait a little bit. Wait it out, if you will. It'll bounce back. Sorry, but don't give me that fake outrage BS nonsense. Let's keep going.
Trump has a blunt way of dealing with stuff, but what if he's right? What if actually flexing the American muscle in this extraordinary, unprecedented manner is utilizing the leverage which exists and ends up with a much fairer trade relationship between America and Europe, America and China, America and all these other countries? What if ultimately Clay Travis is back here in 18 months and he's doing a victory lap because Trump was right?
Trump's already been proven wrong and the markets are showing it. Look, Trump could have united Americans and won over many progressives who, much like MAGA, want reform. They wanted a reform of a system that left many American workers behind and where the wealth went straight to the top and not to the bottom. What Trump does, unfortunately, is he comes to you as a house repairman. He goes, I'm going to repair your house. He blows up your house catches fire, the entire neighborhood burns down. And then Trump comes back and says, give me a 5-star review on Yelp and give me a tip. I'm the greatest house repairman. He's doing that with the global economy right now, right? America gets sneezes, the rest of the world gets sick. You and Richard know that sentiment, right? And we're seeing it play out in real time. A second thing I will tell Republicans right now, especially Natalie and Clay, this is just unsolicited advice. Politics. Donald Trump was elected because why? He said he will bring down the price of eggs. He will bring down the price of groceries. He will reduce inflation. The number one topic was economy. The number one concern for American voters right now is the economy. Immigration has gone all the way to 4th. It's the economy. So right now, nothing sounds more elitist, more out of touch, more condescending, more cruel, more sociopathic to Americans and Brits. I agree with what Richard was saying right now. You should listen to him. He is actually on point. Then telling Americans and Brits, people who have worked their entire lives just to save a little bit of money, people who have worked their entire lives to have a little bit of Social Security, hey, buy the dip. They're not millionaires. They're not multimillionaires. They're not rich like Clay or like Megyn Kelly or like JD Vance who are telling people this advice. They are struggling to buy eggs and you're telling them just write it out. They won't write it out when they lose their home, their 401k, their jobs, their Social Security. Hundreds of thousands of federal employees have lost their jobs because of DOGE. They've lost their insurance. Consumer confidence is down. We have lost jobs. Now they're coming after Social Security, Medicaid. There's going to be tax hikes. You're telling people as you're sitting there with 7 figures, even high 6 figures, hey, write it out, grandma. That is cruel. It is a terrible political statement and policy. You promise people, Donald Trump promised people, he's going to come in, he's going to bring the price of eggs down, he's going to fix the economy, he's going to bring inflation down, he's the king of the art of the deal. And now this utter chaos in real time. Look at the markets in real time. And already people were struggling. Folks, this is going to be disastrous. And Clay, I'm going to keep you to your word. I expect you to be in clown paint, and I want you to wear a big red nose, and you can eat some halal crow as well.
I will be back.
Okay,
Can I respond to this, Piers? Can I respond quickly?
Very quickly, because I want to talk to Amy about her book, because that's also
I will wear the greatest clown costume of all time. The price of eggs down 50%, by the way, since he cares so much, and below where they were when Biden was in office. And the price of gas is at a 5-year low. 40% of Americans have no stocks at all. They look at the price of groceries and they...
I love this idea these people bring to bear constantly. Donald Trump promised he was going to lower the prices of everything. Yeah, he said he was going to fix the economy. And so he does something about that to start the process, and these people get all pissed off, right? Look at what he's doing with Doge. He comes in, he says he's going to fix the government because we have $1.8 trillion of deficit spending going on in our government. So he gets Elon Musk to come in, and they start feigning outrage about all these federal employees getting fired. You know what? If Joe Biden would have come in and expanded the federal employee worker pool by 40%, you wouldn't have to worry about that all that much, would you? If Joe Biden would not have doubled the deficit year over year, you wouldn't have to worry about it that much, would you? Right? These people completely ignore the horror show that was the Biden administration, and Donald Trump comes in to try to fix it, and then 2 months later, oh, he hasn't done anything to fix it. It's a disaster, and let's all go home. Like, are you kidding me? He's currently trying to fix things, and they just don't like the way he's doing it because they think it's stupid. Well, you know what? He's looking further down the road, right? This is essentially planting trees whose shade you will never sit underneath. He's trying to fix the future of this country. He doesn't care about the here and now because we're not all that bad off compared to the rest of the world, if you will, right? So he's trying to fix the future. If you want to be mad at somebody, how about get mad at every single iteration of Congress ever since the late 90s for spending in a deficit, for raising our debt, for outsourcing all of our manufacturing, right? But that goes well past the 90s. But regardless of that, how about you get mad at our policymakers from the past that have got us in a position to where drastic change needed to be done to the economy to damage our purchasing power in the near term, to try to fix what they have wrecked over the past 50 and 60 years in this country. Unfair trade deals, outsourcing our manufacturing, screwing the American worker out of jobs time and time and time again. And then they want to get mad at Donald Trump, all because he takes some actions to fix it and because they don't like those actions. Well, how about you guys, any of you guys that are criticizing what Donald Trump is doing, how about you offer up some solutions? What would you guys do? Instead of criticizing the guy, how about you give some suggestions? Maybe that might reach the president's ear. What suggestions do you guys have? Like, no, serious question, though. I'm not just yelling at a camera in a room, which I am, but I'm not. You get it, right? But, like seriously, what else could we have done? In the position that we're in right now, what could he have done to bring down the price of eggs, to bring down the price of, well, we know how to bring down the price of gas, but to bring down the price of groceries, to bring down the price of other things? What can one guy do to do that? What Donald Trump needs to do, and I've made this suggestion several times, is all that grant money for all the nonsense spending, for all this USAID nonsense. He needs to take that grant money and instead give it to entrepreneurs in this country to start up manufacturing. How about, because you're going to have to. People aren't just going to build a manufacturing plant. I'm sorry, banks aren't going to loan that money. The interest rates are a little bit too high to do that. So what do? Grant money. That's what I think needs to be done. That's an added solution to some of this. I think that's what Donald Trump needs to do, is to kickstart American manufacturing, because we need to be self-sufficient, folks. We really do. And the only way I could see to do that currently is what Donald Trump is doing by raising the cost of foreign goods to where it makes it cheaper to build a manufacturing plant and start from scratch and make all that stuff in the United States. Right now, like I've said in videos of the past, I understand you can't do that with everything. You just can't, right? Like I use the example of Colombian coffee. You can't, grow Colombian coffee in North Texas, for crying out loud. It wouldn't be Colombian coffee anymore. So there are certain items that you're just not going to be able to do. So tariffs in that aspect make absolutely no sense. But if we have a piss poor trade deal with one of these countries, or we've been getting ripped off like we have with China, I think something needs to be done about that, because China has been extracting wealth from this country for decades, and that needs to stop. Just absolutely, just blanketly, it needs to stop. And how do you stop that? Any suggestions other than tariffs? Like, I would love to hear from you guys down in the comment section. I know you guys are always the smartest people in the room. So, I just, once again, how do you fix this? That's what I would love to know. So, I love these people coming in thinking that, well, they're just going to criticize Donald Trump for what he's doing, offer no solutions, and we're going to listen to you for some reason and take your advice here. No, I'm sorry. That's just not how reality works, folks. That is not how this is going to work at all. Like, at least Donald Trump is trying to do something. At least he's cutting spending, right? He's giving us tax breaks. Like, that's something else he mentioned in there. Oh, but there's a bunch of tax increases. No, there's not. That was a blatant lie. Of course, Watch a Hat always lies. It's always garbled nonsense with him. He just makes stuff up as he goes, which just so happen to be, the popular Democratic talking points at the time. And you gotta love it. But that's also what the corporate press does. These people do not tell you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. They tell you their truth, and it builds upon a narrative. And I always get back to that because it's a shame in this country that the corporate press want to lie to push an agenda. And that's nonsense. Their agenda should be giving you the facts of reality. What actually happened? What did Donald Trump say? In its entirety, context and everything. Not just a small segment of something that he said in relation to something totally different than what you presented to me. I can't stand that, y'all. It's nonsense, but I've gotten off the topic, so I want y'all to let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comment section. I'm sure you guys will, but, open, honest criticism, that's what I need. That's what we all need. That's what Donald Trump needs. Any good suggestions criticizing maybe how he went about these tariffs, blah, 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 blah. You get the point, right? But y'all let me know what y'all think. That's all I got on this one. I want to thank everybody for watching. And y'all try to have a good day. Stay legitical. Peace.